But let me tell you, I am very excited about this upcoming high refresh rate OLED monitors at the end of the year. We're talking about 4K 240 Hz and even 480 Hz with motion blur reduction technology. And all I'm going to ask to ASUS and all these companies is, can you just please remove the matte finish so I can buy them? Okay? Because in my opinion, a matte finish has absolutely no place on a premium monitor. You do not design a premium display so it just looks okay under non-ideal lighting conditions. That just doesn't make any sense. Okay? So if they remove the matte finish, I think we're going in the right direction just because BFI is back. Okay, and let me tell you, I have this LG C1 which supports BFI at 120 Hz, and it's not really BFI, it is not black frame insertion, it's a motion blur reduction technique that is not inserting a black frame. Okay, but whatever they're doing, this is gonna be absolutely incredible because I have tested this and I use it every single day on my LG C1 at 60, 100, and 120. And it just looks so fantastic because we're talking about no trailing artifacts, no ghosting, nothing. And it doesn't matter where you are on the screen, it just looks so clean. So I can only imagine this monitor right here, which is capable of 480 Hz, which means 2 milliseconds of persistence equal to 2 pixels of motion blur when moving at 1000 pixels per second. So what does that mean? Very simple. As a sample and hold display, this monitor can do 1080p 480 Hz, for example. You can just open the UFO test, change the speed to 480 pixels per second, and that UFO is gonna look almost as if it was not moving at all. It's just going to have 1 pixel of motion blur, half a pixel of motion blur at the leading edge, and half a pixel of motion blur at the trailing edge, which means that at a normal viewing distance, it's gonna look perfect. And this is fantastic. So now they can go even lower than that. We don't know. This monitor could have below 1 millisecond of persistence, and actually based on the brightness, they are advertising 1300 nits, or at least that's the information that we have. If this monitor can do 1300 nits on a 10% window, which might not be the case, this 1300 nits might just be on a 4% window or something like that. But if they can just push 1000 nits, let's say, on a 10% window, if you scroll that, okay, because this OLEDs, what they can do is basically just draw the picture left to right, top to bottom. And once they have 10% of the frame draw, they just scroll that down, that frame down, so you can see the frame, but the rest is black. And by doing that, they are reducing the persistence to 10%. So just think about that. Imagine you're getting 240 FPS, and which is 4 milliseconds of persistence, just as a sample and hold. But then they reduce that persistence to 10%. So what is 10% of 4 milliseconds? That's 0.4 milliseconds of persistence. So that means you can move that UFO test at 2000 pixels per second, and that's still gonna look perfectly clear. That's amazing, okay? So the potential of these monitors is not only this monitor. There are some other monitors, and I'm using on this video, link in the description, this TFT Central Roundup, which was very, very good. So you can check it out. This is not the only monitor. Let's take a look at this. There's another one that is 1440p and can do also 480 Hz. I think that one might be the sweet spot, but I still want to have that 4K option, especially if I can just use the BFI, or what they call ELMB. Okay, so what is this ELMB? Let's take a look at it while we're rolling this. This ELMB, let's read the Bible for a moment. The Blurbuster chief is telling us that this ELMB basically doesn't mean something specifically, that it depends on the monitor, and it is present. It is a technology present on LCD monitors. Okay, so they call this extremely low motion blur. Okay, and it depends. If it's an LCD, it's doing something else. The OLED might be PWM, whatever they are doing. The thing is, it is a motion blur reduction technique, which only means reducing the persistence, reducing the frame visibility time. So let's take a look at the other monitor, this one. I think this one's gonna be the sweet spot. I mean, I wish they had 4K 480 hertz, but we cannot have everything, but this is gonna be a good one. 1440p, 27 inches, a little bit small, smaller than what I would like, but for 1440p, 27 inches, totally fine. And it's gonna look fantastic, of course, at 480 frames per second. The thing is, you're not gonna be playing AAA games at 480 frames per second, but with this technology, even with black frame insertion, which doesn't make a lot of sense, to be honestly. If they are just implementing black frame insertion, I mean, I'm sure they are not, because it just doesn't make any sense for this OLED. You're gonna lose a lot of brightness, basically. You just want to scroll that small section of the screen, because we know OLEDs have ABL, automatic brightness limiter, and you don't want to just have a full frame and then no frame at all. It's just better this kind of scrolling technologies to get the best out of this BFI. But yeah, with this brightness, I'm expecting they should be able to just give you more than 100 nits of brightness, even with a very aggressive strobing, or PWM, or whatever they want to call this ELMB technology. But this is gonna be another one. Now, these are WRGB OLEDs. I don't know why the QD OLEDs are not getting this. At least, let me double check, but I don't think any QD OLED is announcing this. You see, for example, this QD OLED is 360 hertz, right? At 1440p, but they don't have. It's not announcing. Of course, it's from Alienware. It doesn't have this ELMB. ELMB is a proprietary, registered trademark name of the technology for ASUS. But you see, I don't see any QD OLED with this. Look at this. Look at this. Matte anti-glare coating. Wrong. Okay, big time wrong. Why are they doing this? Just doesn't make any sense, bro. It just ruined a great monitor. It's just nonsense. So I think at some point we should have both options, and then we're gonna be fine. But as long as they keep putting those matte finishes on these screens, it just doesn't make any sense. So let's check if there's another ELMB monitor. I don't think so. Definitely not QD OLED, which is a shame, because QD OLED is very bright. Look at this one, W OLED. This one is curved, 240 hertz, but it also has a BFI support. So we can say this is gonna be the year of return for these technologies, which is amazing. LG, unfortunately, they did such a fantastic job with this on the CX and on the C1, and of course GX, G1, with this OLED Motion Pro High, which I use all the time. I use this every single day, and it's fantastic. This one has, based on my testing, 3.2 milliseconds of persistence. Okay, so this looks better than 240 hertz, which would be 4 milliseconds of persistence. This looks absolutely amazing. So, for example, at 120 hertz, this LG C1 using this medium setting looks exactly the same as 240 hertz. So I can basically get 4K, 240 FPS like motion, okay? And it's just fantastic. And I just punch this high setting, and it's just something else, okay? It is so good, absolutely amazing. And I only need 120 FPS. That's another thing. So sample and hold looks better. You get HDR, you get that full brightness, but you need more performance, okay? You need 480 frames per second, which is not easy to get even at 1080p, just because most of these games are CPU bound, okay? So aside from a handful of games, we cannot get that. So I don't see any other monitor with ELMB announced. There are just these WRGB OLEDs. So yeah, I don't know why, because I don't know why we're not getting this QD OLED TVs. They do have 60 BFI, and that's probably BFI. There's no scrolling or PWM or none of that. I don't know why QD OLEDs are so. It seems like it is more challenging to get that technology working with QD OLEDs. But yeah, that's pretty much those three monitors. I think they are the only ones that have that. So I checked this out. Link in the description of the video. I think this was a very nice roundup. And of course he talks about all the details. And this monitor is gonna have DisplayPort 2.1, so you get all the 240 hertz, 4K, uncompressed, full RGB, and all 10 bits and all of that. We don't even have a GPU that can do DisplayPort 2.1, so that monitor might be far off. But yeah, 32 inches, 240 hertz, 4K with that 480 hertz. Again, a matte finish, anti-glare. Wrong. Okay, you're just ruining one display after the other. It just doesn't make any sense. But yeah, let me know your thoughts and opinions if you're gonna get one of these. I hope, man, they just have an option, like a glossy option. I just don't understand why they keep doing that. It makes no sense. You can always try to remove it though. Okay, if it comes to the matte finish, I mean, there are some people who learn how to do that. You might ruin the display, so it is a shame to spend $1,200 on one of these and then try to remove the matte finish and you ruin it. But that might be the only way. So let me know your thoughts and opinions, and if you have any questions.